Pink Floyd fans have something to look forward to with the recent announcement of a Dolby Atmos mix of their groundbreaking 1977 album, Animals, set to hit shelves on Blu-ray audio this May. This transformative mix, crafted by James Guthrie, promised to offer fans a fresh perspective on the timeless tracks of one of Floyd's most powerful albums. Alongside this innovative audio experience, fans can expect a visual feast courtesy of Storm Studios, who have reimagined the iconic artwork of London's Battersea Power Station with stunning light projections. With multiple mixes and immersive packaging, this release is sure to be a must-have treasure for Floyd devotees. You can pre-order the set now. We will leave a link in the description. From time to time, we like to go back and revisit stories from the past. Today is a good opportunity to share this original review of the Animals LP from 1977. The reviewer was Stephen Demarest, and the article titled Paranoid Floyd captures the essence of Floyd's cultural impact and of the album upon its initial release. As we anticipate the upcoming Atmos mix, let's take a nostalgic journey back to the era when Animals first graced the turntables, hauntingly resonating with listeners and challenging societal norms. Now let's head to 1977 and have a look at the new Pink Floyd record. Pink Floyd is rock's foremost recluses, not the Howard Hughes type of ostentatious recluse who drops millions advertising his privacy. When Pink Floyd vanishes, they do it right. They make sure nobody gives a damn that they're missing. Pretty good for a group that spearheaded British psychedelic float music a decade ago, lost a charter member who remains legendary to this very day, and finally made their millions on a ninth album, which hung in the charts almost as long as George Blanda hung on with the Oakland Raiders. I bet more kids in America can name you the lineup of the Runaways or the Ramones, well, that's partly an easy one I guess, than the four Floyds. Nevertheless, the release of a Pink Floyd album is an event, even if it does creep up without the usual heavy metal fanfare and People magazine cover. It's an event because everyone knows that we'll have to be satisfied with this disc for another year and a half until they deliver their next one to a new generation, sometime approaching 1979. The latest Columbia offering is Animals, a thinly disguised slice of weighty social commentary, such as only the concerned English can dish out. Ray Davies comes to mind. There are only 3 major tracks on Animals: dogs, pigs, and sheep. But each fable has plenty of telling remarks about inhumanity among the beasts of the earth, along with the fabulously rich instrumentals Pink Floyd is known for. This isn't Dr. Dolittle kidding around. It isn't even Wind in the Willows. It's much more like George Orwell's Animal Farm class Warfare, and nobody comes off too cuddly. Floyd's current standoffishness seems to be a reaction to the long years when they did give interviews. Interpretations more or less concur that the group figures they said all they had to say when they slogged through the media mill years ago, and if you weren't paying attention then when they needed you, well, haha, tough trapezoids. Probably the most extensive recent study of the band was a 6-part broadcast by Nicky Horn called The Pink Floyd Story, beamed over London's Capital Radio in January. Among the most interesting comments were some by drummer Nick Mason about the period right after Dark Side of the Moon finally established them in America in 1973. Evidently, the phenomenon nearly upset the whole group. There was a point after Dark Side, Mason said, where we might easily have broken up. We'd reached all the goals rock bands tend to aim for. Perhaps we were nervous about carrying on, the problems of making a follow-up. I really did find the time in the studio making Wish You Were Here extremely horrible. Roger Waters, meanwhile, was most discombobulated by the face-to-face confrontation of touring, admitting he thought the last tour very unpleasant, unnerving, and upsetting. He even expressed an idea he had of constructing a black polystyrene wall between the musicians and the audience to represent the alienation he felt from his fans. The gloomy outlook of Floyd Captain Waters is well documented in the group's recent work, of course. He writes all the lyrics. Waters was being cynical about the business world on Dark Side's Money 4 years ago, and then on Wish You Were Here's Have a Cigar last time out. That peeve translates to dogs on the new record. 4 years ago, he was also criticizing the self-deception and idleness of the less mature on Time. That theme was then refined into 1975's Welcome to the Machine, about conning people with nice illusions. And the latest incarnation of his impatience with dim dreamers is Sheep. What makes his distressing observations more powerful this time out is the coherent allegorical quality of the lyrics, which figure much more prominently than on past albums. Animals is bracketed by a pair of acoustic tracks called Pigs on the Wing. The idea of the introductory message in part 1 is that if we all didn't care about one another, life would be lonely, miserable, and frightening. The last band on the album, a Pigs on the Wing reprise labeled Part 2, concludes that we do care about each other after all, and it's only in this common humanity that we find shelter. Except for those parameters, though, the record threatens nightmarish possibilities in the 3 epic tracks. Dogs is Waters' most effective indictment yet of the predatory ruthlessness of modern commercial society, which destroys souls. The music isn't particularly harsh, but there's a malevolence in the familiar astral gallop, chilly synthesizer, and nighttime dog howls. It's the lyrics that really deliver the goods, though, describing the horror of being sucked into the web. A few sample knives. You gotta be able to pick out the easy meat. You gotta be trusted by the people that you lie to. You gotta keep one eye looking over your shoulder. In the end, you'll fly down south, dying of cancer. Pigs, which opens side 2 with grunting noises, introduces 3 varieties of gluttons. Once again, the music is a strongly visual mixture, a gliding melody over a lumbering beat, rough-edged guitar chops over a metronome rhythm, a solo of David Gilmour's soaring, evocative squeals. It's a muscular track, but the words are even more slashing. The first of the accused is a well-heeled big wheel, obviously a token patriot, who is despised for his greed. The second seems to be a sadistic older woman. You're hot stuff with a hat pin and good fun with a handgun. Only the third is clearly identifiable. Britain's official censor, Mary Whitehouse. Floyd call her a house-proud town mouse, trying to keep our feelings off the street. You're nearly a real treat. All tight lips and cold feet. Friends of the band believe Waters also meant the slam at Whitehouse to serve another meaning for his American audience. Anglophiles may be pleased to note that Animals is released in Great Britain by EMI, Sir John Sanctimonious Red's label, which booted the Sex Pistols this winter for gross misbehavior. The sheep section is somewhat more confusing, but basically these cowards are no better off than the dogs or the pigs. The cut fades in peacefully with some watery electric piano blending into the contented baws of the quadrupeds. Lurking in the background, though, are barking dogs who will herd them to slaughter, and before long this theater piece takes on plenty of aggression as battle is joined. Sheep, of course, are meek and obedient people who don't want to get involved, who pretend the danger's not real, only dimly aware of a certain unease in the air. Ultimately, though, they have to wake up to reality, encapsulated here by a terrific parody of the 23rd Psalm that reads like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Lord is my shepherd. With bright knives he releaseth my soul. He maketh me to hang on hooks in high places. He converteth me to lamb cutlets. The climax comes when Waters envisions the sheep revolting after learning karate. No kidding, that's what it says. Animals is the first album Pink Floyd has recorded in their new Britannia Row studios in North Islington, and it took about 10 months. One feature of the release is that the 8-track tape sports a guitar solo, linking the 2 Pigs on the Wing parts. That's not available on the record. In the interests of greater social awareness, Floyd has consented to come out of hiding to promote their latest effort. The first catastrophe occurred when the 50-foot inflatable pig, being photographed over the Battersea power station for the jacket cover, escaped and ran amok in the air channels over London's airport. After pilots and radar were thoroughly confused by the giant porker soaring at 12 o'clock high, it floated out over the English Channel toward France. Finally, one of the hooves blew out as the balloon drifted over England once more, and it came to earth on a farm in Kent. Stunned as the farmer was, he was also smart enough to tie it down. The band itself went airborne in February, when they launched a major tour with dates in Germany. They'll come to America this spring after stops in England. The U.S. tour begins April 22nd in the South and concludes July 4th weekend with 2 mammoth gigs, one in the 80,000-seat Giant Stadium in New Jersey, and the other in Montreal's Olympic Stadium. They'll be the first rock group to play either arena. According to reliable leaks, the first half of their show will present Wish You Were Here in its entirety, followed by the complete Animals. But don't scamper off too quickly. The encore will be selected sections of Dark Side of the Moon. And there's another surprise. Hint, the biggest ham there won't be Roger Waters. Help us keep rock alive. Please hit like and subscribe.